listening to Chris Talks Cars on Cartoon Channel. Hey, what's up, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Chris Talks Cars. My name is Chris Goodin, and once again, I am joined by a man who wants to LS4 swap your LT1, Mr. Brandon Cole.
See, I might do that. That's a decent swap. I mean, you're sacrificing a little displacement, but
you're going to put a front-wheel drive LS in an LT car?
You can make it rear-wheel drive. Maybe you can't. I don't know. I really don't know much about that, to be honest. But it doesn't sound like a horrible idea.
You know what? We'll do that when I get out there. We'll look into it. Yeah, well, let's not and say we did. How you doing, buddy? How was your Father's Day? Happy Father's Day.
Thanks, sir. Yeah, it was pretty good. Had a good time. Good weekend. Nothing crazy. Right on. Drank a lot.
There you go. It's your right as a father. I enjoyed not being a father and had Uncle's Day, where I did the same thing I do every Sunday, which is relax in peace and do whatever the fuck I want. So,
can't beat that.
Yay, being the fun uncle. So not too much going on news-wise this week in the car world. Toyota announced their new the 2022 Tundra, which is like the new generation. It looks really good. They kind of leaked and then released a photo. I mean, are you a fan of the Tundra in general?
Yes. No, I love the Tundra. If I was going to buy a half-ton truck right now, obviously I'd be looking at some that are a few years old, but if I was looking at a half-ton, I would buy a Tundra. I really like the 5.7 in them, and they all look pretty good.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of that 5.7. It really bums me out that it doesn't get more recognition and
I think
clout. It's because it's not in any sports cars like the 7.3, unfortunately. Yeah. Well, I mean, at the same time, Toyota's not really known for their V8 sports cars, but that 5.7 liter is a freaking monster. And the same with Nissan's. I think they have a 5.3 liter in the Armada. I've driven several generations of Armada, and I am blown away every time by how much power they have. I would love to stick a blower on this Toyota motor or that one and just hurt feelings.
You could. So at the time, I think it actually holds number 2 spot until recently. When the new HO EcoBoost came out, and then I think it's second or third to the that and the V10, but you could get that 5.7 with a supercharger in the Tundra, and it made something around 500 horsepower or so.
Yeah, the factory supercharger is another reason why it's crazy that it hasn't been put in more toys. You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
It's got factory supercharger support. I imagine it's probably not the cheapest because, relative to Ford and Chevy trucks, they are pretty rare.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I looked a lot into that because before I settled on getting another diesel, I was looking at half tons, and I was like, this would be a good match for me because they're real reliable, they're good trucks, and I looked into, what you can do to beef them up a little bit, and simple bolt-ons surprisingly go a really long way with that engine. I mean, they really come alive with a set of headers, exhaust, and a handful of bolt-ons and a tune. So I think they're a really well-kept secret. But basically, because they're in a truck and they never found their ways into any other real sports car or anything like that.
Yeah. Also, I don't know what it is, but they put the hair trigger of a lifetime on the gas pedal in those trucks. Oh, yeah. It is all but impossible to get off the line without bucking. At least I've driven my brother-in-law, and he said his parents used to have the Sequoia in that same generation. I think it's a 2007. And obviously it's the same platform, but same thing. You just tap the gas and it wants to just burn out.
Yeah. I've never driven one, but I have raced some in my other trucks, and they move pretty good for a big, heavy vehicle. I know that for sure.
Do you know off the top of your head, are they a true half ton? Because they don't have like the weight classes like Chevy or GM would.
Yeah, okay. They're a half ton. They're really competitive with Ford and Ram and Chevrolet, General Motors.
You see them a lot out there? Because I have a false sense of the truck market here because like there's two classes. There's like brand new like business guys that have pavement princesses. And then there's just like old clapped out garbage that like construction guys are driving. So I don't know.
Yeah.
You know.
So, I mean, I've been through most parts of the United States, and it's not drastically different here, but and that's here in Texas, if everybody doesn't know. Trucks are a real thing here. It really kind of almost defines the type of person you are. We have all different kinds. So, I mean, you're going to see everything, but like most of the newer Toyotas all have Texas stickers on the back because they're real proud of making them here.
Right. Also, is there a Texas edition?
I believe there is. I'm not.
If not, I'm sure you guys will make one because that's what you do.
Yeah. I'm fairly certain it's like a dealer installed option or something like that.
So part of the reason that I brought this up is they are offering, we're not sure if it's the exclusive engine, but a twin turbo V6, which will be an EcoBoost competitor.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. I didn't know that existed until you sent that article to me. And that's pretty cool. I don't know anything about it, but I know that I like twin turbo, and that sounds awesome.
Yeah. So there's no confirmation yet, so we don't know for sure. But Toyota, the image got leaked, so they just kind of admitted that it exists. They haven't done like the full reveal and launch on it, but apparently it's the same twin turbo V6 that is going into the current generation Land Cruiser, the 2021 model. So 409 horsepower, not bad.
This is good.
Not bad at all.
I mean, that's really competitive for all the engines right now. I mean, there's definitely more powerful stuff, but I mean, that's good. Oh, the torque is what I'm interested in because typically these
479 foot-pounds. Does that interest you?
Yeah, very, because the EcoBoost is right there with it at, I think, 470.
Yeah. So that's, apparently you can get that same engine in the Lexus LS 500, which is like one of their big body sedans.
Yeah.
But yeah, 409 horsepower and 479 foot-pounds of torque at 2,000 RPM. 2,000 to 3,600 is the torque spread.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fantastic. That's right where you want it for, in the Land Cruiser's case, any kind of off-roading, and in the truck case, any kind of towing. So that's pretty fantastic.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm trying to find like all these images, but they are doing a big, like, change, like cosmetic change exterior.
Yeah, my brother-in-law, he wants a new one, but he doesn't like the current generation, so he's been waiting for the facelift and the generation change. So he might be picking one of these up depending on what the details come out as.
The more I look at it, it's kind of growing on me, so I think I might like it too.
It's got that weird thing on the part of the hood closest to the windshield, like the new Rams have, and I'm not stoked about that. But other than that, I think it looks good.
I wonder if that's like a breather or something, like where the intake is, maybe. Maybe. I mean, could be where the turbos are located. Doubt it.
Yeah, maybe not. But so stay tuned for updates on that as it comes out. I'm pretty interested in it. Also, the new Maverick, as more comes out on that. It's pretty crazy that trucks are really dominating the market right now.
No, they are. Yeah. I mean, to me, they make sense. I've already said my piece about what I think about like sedans. Like, they just don't make sense to me. But SUVs make sense and they're practical, and trucks are the same thing. I mean, you can do anything you can do with a sedan, you can do with a truck, but then you can do a whole heck of a lot more. You got all the cargo space, and you got your tow rating, your payloads, you got all the power. I mean, they make sense. And on top of that, it's almost like a status thing these days. I mean, you can have, it wasn't long ago when like you could only get like cloth or maybe vinyl in a truck. And now it's like, I mean, it feels like you're riding around a BMW in some of these things. Kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, like the OBS, like the square body Chevys, those were all still all cloth. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think of when the kind of luxury revolution started.
I think I'm not 100% sure, but I know mid 90s is really when I started noticing them. I've seen some leather in some of the second generation Dodges, and I can recall some Chevrolets as well. I'm not sure that Ford did it, and if they did, it was probably a pretty uncommon option, but I don't think they got into the late 90s.
Yeah, Ford kind of broke in with the Lightnings and stuff to the sporty / not. I guess it wasn't so much luxury because even the Lightnings were all cloth,
right? Until the second generation.
Yeah. You know what's an underrated truck look wise? The F-150 Harley Davidson edition, like the early 2000s. I'm a big fan of those.
Not a fan.
No?
I mean, they're not terrible. I hate anything that has the Harley badge on it. I can get into that on a different day. And then I'm not crazy about that body style. The Lightning made it look good because it just had all the right stuff on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think I would want that. It's not my favorite.
That's fine. I mean, you're entitled to your opinion, even if it's wrong. So, we can just move on. So we're coming up. They've been 2 race week style events so far this year. And for the people that don't know, it's where you take it's to prove that your street car is a street car, because a lot of people will build a full spec race car and then put some blinkers and like a 3-gallon fuel cell and call it a street car. And that is not a street car. A street car is something you can basically daily drive. And to prove it, these guys go on, there's a few different things. There's Hot Rod Drag Week. There's Midwest Drag Week. There's 1320 Race Week, Rocky Mountain Race Week that just finished. And what it is they'll pick like a geographic area and they'll go to 4 or 5 tracks in 4 or 5 days. And you'll have like Tom Bailey driving a 2,000 horsepower plus race car, 1,300 miles from track to track, towing a trailer through the mountains. And it's pretty freaking sweet.
Yeah, I like that. Do they do like a qualifying cruise beforehand? Like you have
No. Well, if you sign up for it, I mean, it's hundreds of miles between each track. So, I mean, even if you do, I guess you could enter with a 3-gallon fuel cell, but you're going to be pulling over every mile. Like a lot of these guys are getting six miles a gallon. So, I mean, I guess if you want to pull over every 15 miles to refuel yourself, you could do that. But
I mean, the reason I asked, like they say, like, street cars, these are street cars. Like there used to be a race here in Denton at the North Star Dragway, which is now closed. And I know they did this at several other places.
RIP.
Well. What's that?
To the drag strip.
Oh,
is now an RV park.
Yeah, that's pretty sad. But they had this deal where you would show up to the race, you'd pass your tech inspection, and then they would make you follow a lead car and take you on a 30-mile cruise, and you had to complete the cruise to actually be able to race.
There's events that do that if it's like a 1-day event, but this is, I mean, you're not allowed to have a trailer between tracks. So like if it's like Streetcar Takeover, a lot of those, they'll have a 30-mile cruise because it's just in town. You can show up and do it. But I mean, Rocky Mountain Race Week, it's 300 plus miles between each track. So that's kind of the qualifying drive, I guess. But it's pretty sweet, man. I think like Cletus built his El Camino for drag week, which is pretty freaking sweet. It's ideal. Tows a trailer well, has lots of in-bed storage, but there's dudes that'll do it in, there's a guy that put a 1JZ in an old 4Runner and did it. Like, there's a bunch of dudes in the new Coyote F-150s that did it. I mean, with a truck, it's pretty easy because unless you have like your turbo and intercooler and a bunch of other crazy stuff in the bed, you don't have to worry about a trailer even. You can have one of those little bumper hitch extensions with a little basket on it. Put your slicks in there and whatever else. And,
I really like that. That to me that's awesome because it doesn't, it's not just like you show up with a trailer, you fix everything and you can blow it up and then throw it back on the trailer and fix it or whatever. I mean, these guys are actually running their stuff. Of course they have to do some fixes here and there, but they're driving these from race to race. And that to me is just so freaking cool, man. Like just dragging a little trailer behind a race car and actually hitting.
They're savages too, man. Cause like
so cool.
A lot of them don't have air conditioning anymore. Like they're more, track oriented, I'd say, weight reduction, but it is 100+ degrees through the hills in Colorado. And they're showing like inside the car, like some of these cars are 160 degrees plus.
Yeah.
They drive 6-8 hours in a day in that kind of heat. Hell no.
That's really cool. I love that. Respect.
Yeah. Forgive my niece screaming in the background. So few cool things this week in automotive history. I know we talk about the Ford GT40 and all the business that happened with Ford and Ferrari back in the day. But on June 19th, 1966, Ford wins the 24 Hours of Le Mans, finishing 1, 2, and 3 in the Mark II Ford GT40s. Starting the domination era by the Blue Oval.
Did Ken get third?
Yeah, that was the Ken Miles where Bruce McLaren. Yeah, that business. One of the greatest thieveries and upsets in racing history, in my opinion. But pretty brutal.
Well, that's what you get for listening to the man.
It's true. I avoided at all costs. June 17th, 1994, O.J. Simpson made the Ford Bronco very famous as 90 million people watched him drive his white Ford Bronco down the 405 freeway.
Jeez.
90 million people. 90 million people. That's insane. That's like half of our downloads last month. We're huge. We're a huge deal. That's what I'm saying.
For sure. Yeah. No, that's so crazy, man. Like, I'm not really old enough to remember that, but like, it's still crazy that it's still talked about today. And it's like an iconic Bronco thing. It's an ongoing internet Bronco joke.
Oh yeah. If you have a white Bronco, I guarantee you at least twice a week, someone's like, "Hey, OJ."
Oh yeah. There's a white Bronco running around somewhere with an OJ license plate.
Oh man.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that's a brief venture into automotive history for the week. The EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, is not fucking around, it seems. Under the Biden administration, two people that I know of, PFI Speed outside Denver, they're big Honda guys. You guys probably know if you listen to this. And then JH Diesel, who's a diesel and off-road mechanic in South Florida, both received huge fines from the EPA in the last couple weeks. JH settled with the EPA to $23,000 in fines, and it started off as $180,000 in fines for modifying emissions equipment. In Colorado, I kind of understand because it's more of a blue state. But if they're coming for diesel mechanics in Florida, they're coming for everyone. So it's kind of scary. It makes getting your representative to back the RPM Act, which is going through Congress, which would exempt racing vehicles from these EPA standards. Basically what it is for a while, companies have been selling certain exhausts and intakes, and it'll say off-road use only. And at least like me, everyone's just like, wink, wink. Okay. Yeah, for sure. Off-road. But apparently EPA isn't playing around anymore. So if you have a street registered vehicle, which, a lot of, like we were just saying, the streetcar revolution, people driving their high performance cars on the street, a lot of that stuff is pretty commonplace, especially if you drive a diesel in the South where there's no, any smog requirements. It's like, you leave the dealership, you drop it off, get your def delete so you don't have to do all the emissions crap. And that's just what you do. So it's pretty scary for a lot of shops out there, and for the future of race cars and purpose built vehicles, because if this continues, you won't be able to take any vehicle that was designed with emissions in mind. So literally any street legal vehicle beyond, I don't remember the date when the emissions laws were enacted, but yeah, any street use vehicle that you have anything done to avoid emissions is subject to at least the shop that did it getting fined. I'm not sure if it goes on to, if you order parts from somewhere and you do it yourself, if the parts manufacturers are getting gone after or not, but it's super scary, man, because I see both sides of it, right? You don't want the US to end up like China, where like the clouds, like you can't even see across the street because there's so much smog and pollution. I don't want that, right? I don't think anyone's advocating for that. But the percentage of vehicles that people are modifying to do this kind of stuff is such a small percentage. Like, I don't know. It feels like the car industry and people like us are gone after because we're the easy target. Like, if you really want to make a dent in like smog and pollution, go after fucking China and India and Russia and all these places that literally just have black smoke billowing into the sky. Like, leave me the fuck alone. If you really are concerned about it, go after them, but nobody goes after them, because if you go after China, you get disappeared. If you go after Russia, you get disappeared. So the US, like with a lot of stuff, we give a shit and we try to do the right thing, and it just gets taken advantage of continually. You're going to tell me that JH Diesel do it like, and the rolling coal thing, I get it. It's obnoxious. And like, if you're trying not to piss off the EPA, like black clouds of smoke that you could see like an old school steam engine coming down the line, like probably isn't the best look, but I want freedom more over anything. And I think if a few people take advantage of it, that's the price you pay for having freedom, and those people maybe should be dealt with accordingly. But god dang, man, finding these small shops like $18,000-$20,000, I mean, $180,000 I'm sure would have put him out of business. I don't know how well he's doing, but I can't imagine any shop has $180,000 laying around to just pay fines. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, I think a lot of these, they're targeting the wrong things. I mean, there's already all this emission stuff in place, and it's been in place for longer than we've been alive. There's been smog type things going on. Right. So we're still having the problem. So what's this going to do? There's already a problem in place, with all these rules they put in place, and going after a select few people is not going to change anything. And they're targeting the wrong people. Like look at these bottling companies. Like like Coca-Cola.
They're never going to go after the big money. That's the point. Like that's why it sucks. It's like going after China. Like they're just going to throw money at it. They're untouchable.
Here's what I'm saying though. It's like beside the point. The point is it's not going to make a difference. It's all about saying, look what we did. We shut these people down. Even though it makes zero difference. And then they're supporting all these companies that just mass produce millions of bottles of plastic bottles for water. Like single-use water bottles is so pointless.
Let me drop some knowledge on the people that don't have insight to the government like you or I do. Anytime shit like this happens, I would be willing to bet there's somebody far up the food chain that didn't do shit in the last year and their eval's coming up and they're like, fuck, what can I do? Yeah. And it's just like in the military, as soon as eval season comes up, get ready to do all the bullshit work because everyone in charge needs to say that they did something. And guess what? When they did something, it means you got to actually do something. So this person, I would be willing to bet, can't guarantee on their eval or whatever kind of system they have is like increased EPA enforcement by 26% and da-da-da-da-da. And that's all it is. They don't give a fuck about actually, I mean, maybe they do. I say I'm super cynical, so keep that in mind. But I'd be willing to bet they really don't give a shit because the majority of pollution coming into the atmosphere isn't from the US. And that's again, I'm not saying that it should just be the Wild West and we should have black clouds blocking out the sun. I'm not advocating for that, but it's like either it's the inconsistency, it's the hypocrisy. And I mean, that's a consistent theme that drives me crazy, but yeah, it's disingenuous really, I guess is what it comes down to.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, AOC.
Yeah. Thanks, Obama.
I didn't say Obama.
Something that you and I were talking about earlier, and you suggested, I said something about 7.3 Godzilla swapping, something, and you said you'd rather Hemi swap it. And it got me thinking, I like stuff that is different. Right. Like it's why I was drawn to my Volkswagen. Like there's not a lot of fast all-wheel drive Volkswagens compared to in the military town compared to the Mustangs and Camaros that were out there. I like stuff that's different. But for some reason, the idea of doing a Hemi swap, even though right now I'd say Hemi engines, as far as crate motors, are probably the easiest horsepower you can get. I'm not aware of, obviously not Ford and probably not GM, that you can order 1,000 horsepower crate engine out the door that'll just show up at your box on a pallet. You know what I mean? And for some reason, I could not be less interested. Maybe that's why. Maybe because they just make it too easy. There's too many dickheads with Hellcats that I see like wrapped around telephone poles and, doing dumb shit that I'm just like, eh.
Well, I think a lot of these people, it's so easy to just walk into a dealership and get a loan and leave with a 707 horsepower Hellcat, and you have no experience with that kind of power, and now you wreck it or whatever. And that's
next thing you know, you left your lip protectors on so that you wouldn't damage your chin spoiler, and then boom, telephone pole.
You get way too mad about those chin protectors.
I do, man. It's so obnoxious. What are you saving? It's I could understand if it was like, oh yeah, Dodge has a $8,000 carbon fiber chin spoiler on their $40,000 car. Sure, leave your yellow protector on. I get it. Like it's some insanely expensive part. No, bro, it's a fucking plastic chin protector. Take the yellow straps off. You'll be okay.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know.
I only mentioned like the whole Hemi thing because when we're talking about the lower grade stuff, when you get into like the higher grade LS9s and whatever all the new stuff supercharged Chevys are, and with the supercharged Hemis, it really is just like you name your horsepower, you throw the right money at it, and you make whatever you want, really. But like in the more basic stuff and lower end stuff, which is what we'll be dealing with here pretty soon.
Right.
They're both great choices. I think the LSs from like the 5.3s to the LS1s, LS2s, those sort of things, and the 6.0 LQ4s, LQ9s, and then the 5.7 Hemis, and throughout all the years. I mean, I really feel like just right out of the box with basic parts and basic tuning, I feel like you get these excellent cylinder heads. There's a lot that I like about the Hemi, and I wouldn't say one's better than the other, but like you said earlier, it does offer something different because everybody's got an LS in there, and you say like the Hemi almost makes it easier, but really the LS makes it easier because there's so much support for it.
That's true. I just mean Hemi makes it easy from the factory.
Yeah.
Like LS stuff is easy to make 1,000 horsepower, but you have to go through the trouble of getting a cylinder head and a turbo to do it. Dodge, you just literally click order crate engine and you got 1,000 horsepower.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's not. I don't really think it's a whole lot different for the LS engines either. I mean, they all come pretty much with excellent cylinder heads, and it's just about how you want to set it up with, like, for switching cylinder heads, like mostly comes down to like what kind of compression ratio you want. I mean, some of them do flow significantly better than the others, but none of them flow poorly. So there's not really a bad choice out there. I think on the lower level stuff, the Hemi has a little bit better cylinder head, but when you get into the higher level stuff and they're already like basically port and polished from the factory, I don't think you're going to find a significant difference either way you go. They're just so tightly competitive there.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the last thing it would come down to would be price. I'm not sure how much Gen 3 Hemis are, but I'd imagine they're pretty cheap. I mean, every freaking pickup you see going down the road, every Dodge has the 5.7 in it. So
yeah, but the thing is, one, they didn't make as many Dodges, especially back then, as they did Chevys, and then also there was no like Hemis in any cars until like the Magnum, and then the Challenger came around like 2010 or something like that.
Right.
Maybe a little sooner. I don't know, but there's just a whole lot more LSs out there. So I would definitely say, without a doubt, the LS is going to be cheaper and easier to find.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, man. I've been, actually, I want to do a G35 with a LS swap so bad. There's just a stock G35 I drive by every day at work, and it makes me want it. I found one.
They're good looking.
Hell yeah, man. I love just that factory trunk spoiler with even the factory wheels. I found one online. It was already sold, so it didn't have the price, but LS2, a built LS2 ported blower, like the works, man. It gave me inspiration to know that it can be done. There's a few companies that offer like conversion kits for LS swaps. Sikkey, Sikkey is one of them. It's like $3,000. It comes with wiring harness, oil pan, oil pickup, cross member, all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, and so that's another thing. There's so many companies out there that just make all the LS kits for it. I mean, you're never going to get everything you need in the kit, but you get a mass majority of it, and they do have the stuff for the Hemis too. But one, they're more expensive and they're less common, and less people make them, and so you just kind of have less options for it. So, I mean, given our skill set, being that we're not master mechanics and we don't have an entire shop at our disposal, it almost really just makes sense to go LS because there's the most support for it.
Yeah, I imagine you'd be hard pressed to find a vehicle on the internet that hasn't had a LS put into it.
Yeah, for sure. I feel like they've just put them in just about everything. They're good. I mean, as much as I hate to say it, they're really excellent engines.
Yeah,
they're out there. There's a ton of them out there to choose from. So, it's the way to go. And that's why they're so popular. And it's going to be 20 years before those 7.3s are popular and a whole bunch of them on the road, easy to find and swap them, whatever. And by then it's going to be all electric vehicles anyway. So no one's going to care about them. So I don't think anything's really ever going to have the same following the LS has as far as how it is now.
Yeah, it was certainly the most dominant thing. Well, Chevy really, I mean, the whole time, automotive history, like it's pretty crazy to think that, yeah. I mean, it's all happened not within our lifetime, but almost. I mean, internal combustion engines are gonna, I mean, not go away anytime soon, but like to think that Chevy had a lockdown on, the small block Chevy, legendary through, was it the 50s? All the way until the
60s, probably
the 60s until the 90s when the LS came out. And then that's been dominant till current.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's pretty crazy to think that one manufacturer could pretty much just have it locked down for the entire history until everything gets electrified.
Yeah. They made the right cars and they weren't afraid to put big engines and everything. And they made a good name for themselves over the years as far as just having really good, powerful engines. And this is coming from a guy that doesn't really like Chevy that much. So, I mean, yeah, they're genuinely just good. I can't really talk any smack about them. One of my favorite engines is actually the big block Chevrolet. It's just, great.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a reason, unfortunately, you don't hear anything or hear much about big block Fords.
Yeah, I mean, they're still good, but
yeah, I mean,
they're not. I don't think they're really on the level of the big block Chevys, and they definitely didn't get the same following, and not for any other reason, in my opinion, than the fact that the Chevrolet just was better.
I mean, it's better for sure, but also like the LS, Chevy put it in everything. You could get it in Suburbans, you could get it in pickups, you could get it in like what sports cars had the 454 in it?
Chevelles, Camaros.
Yeah,
Corvette had it. So, yeah.
Ford, I mean, it's their ethos. They, for whatever reason, love these small, high revving engines, and that's always been their thing. So,
yep.
But
unfortunately.
Yeah. On that sad note, you got anything else?
I don't think so.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe, rate, and review. Do all the things. Our Instagram links are in the description below. I'm at ChrisTalksCars. He's at roll_Cole. And we'll see you next week. Bye.